Hello everyone. I'm Dr. Susengfa Gogoi, Assistant Professor, Department of Political Science, North Lakhimpur College Autonomous. Welcome you all another module on your favorite channel, ePolitica. The title of today's module is Disintegration of Soviet Union, Causes and Consequences. So in this module, we would mainly discuss about how the Soviet Union got disintegrated, what were the causes behind it, and what are its consequences. This particular module is developed in connection with the higher secondary class 12 course on political science for the contemporary world politics part, unit number 2. Now, what are the major objectives of this module? So after you listening to this module, the students would be able to learn what do we mean by Soviet system. They will able to understand the major features of Soviet system. They will able to learn the role of Gorbachev in disintegration of USSR. They will able to estimate the causes of disintegration of Soviet Union, and they would also be able to evaluate the consequences of disintegration of Soviet Union. So without further delay, let us begin. Now, before we begin with the content, I would like to draw the attention of my student to this particular picture. This particular picture was published in the year 1989 by the Washington Post. And if you look at into this particular picture, it shows after the Berlin Wall was fall, what was the situation? What amount of joy the people had during that particular time. So this fall of the Berlin Wall had been a remarkable stand, more particularly to the events of Cold War, because after this collapse of Berlin Wall, the entire episode of Cold War came to an end and Soviet Union got disintegrated. As my student friends had already been known regarding what happened and why this Berlin Wall was created. I told you that after the Second World War, the responsibility of reconstructing Germany or controlling Germany was given in the hands of United States of America for one part and Soviet Union for the other. And interestingly, what Soviet Union did to demarcate the America-led Germany from the Soviet Union-led Germany, they had built an artificial wall in Berlin, which was known as the Berlin Wall. So Berlin Wall also marked the tension between the United States of America and Soviet Union. But with the fall of the Berlin Wall, it also shows that the power of Soviet Union got dissolved and the tension between United States of America and Soviet Union also got eased. So that's why the fall of Berlin Wall had been very important here. Now, why do we consider the fall of Berlin Wall as important in connection with the end of Soviet Union, or you can call it as disintegration of Soviet Union? The first point that I would like to highlight here is that the fall of Berlin Wall marked the unification of Germany. So it was already told to my students that because of the Berlin, the Germany got bifurcated, but with the collapse of this Berlin Wall, Germany got again integrated or unified into one country. So that was the first development which was contributed by Berlin Wall. Secondly, due to the fall of the Berlin Wall, the second world also got collapsed. Now, what is second world and what are the characteristics of second world, we will discuss in the subsequent slides. But due to only thing that you need to remember now is that due to the fall of Berlin Wall, the second world got collapsed. It was also noticed that due to the collapse of Berlin Wall, a total of 8 East European countries, they have replaced their communist governments, which were earlier the part of Soviet bloc. So the 8 states of East European country, they had abandoned the communist regimes established by Soviet bloc, and eventually they have adopted democracy. So therefore, the fall of Berlin Wall also called an end to the Cold War. Now let us talk about what is Second World or what was Second World. Now, as you all know that the world was divided into different parts or different types depending on the kind or the development of political and economic situation of the countries. There are certain countries who were together called as First World, led by United States of America, are those Western European countries who had adopted democracy as their political system and who had also adopted liberalism and capitalism as their way of life. as a way of economic life. So therefore, those countries were together known as the first wall. Now the second wall is basically comprised of those countries which are at the side of Soviet bloc after their liberation from fascist government. We all know that most of the Eastern European countries before the Second World War, they were under some kind of fascist government. So after the Second World War, under the leadership of Soviet Union, these Eastern European countries, they got liberated from their fascist governments and they became the part of the Soviet Union. And so therefore together all these countries were known as the Second World. So therefore many people also consider Second World as equal to Soviet system. So Second World actually reflects the Soviet system. Now let us now discuss how the Soviet system was developed. To talk about the development of Soviet system, we have to go back to the year 1917. So in this year called 1917, there was a particular revolution that held in Russia. The name of the revolution was Socialist Revolution in Russia. So this Socialist Revolution in Russia, 1917, it has led to the formation of Union of Soviet Socialist Republic. In short, we call it as USSR. So this USSR therefore was a product of this Socialist Revolution in Russia in the year 1917. Now, the interesting part regarding this Socialist Revolution was that this revolution was inspired by the ideals of socialism as opposed to capitalism. It is indeed very important to mention that prior to this Socialist Revolution, the entire Europe was under the cover of capitalism. But Soviet Union, due to this Socialist Revolution, they want to withdraw or overthrow the capitalist model of economy, capitalist model of governments, and they want to establish a socialist model of government system. And therefore, to aim it, they try to develop an egalitarian society. And to achieve that egalitarian society or equality-based society, the leaders of Soviet Union, they have given more importance to the state and the Communist Party. So by that particular movement or revolution, the leaders of Soviet Union, they have transferred the entire responsibility of government is in the hands of the state. So there was a state-centric government mechanism was developed by this Soviet Socialist Revolution, and responsibility has been given to only to one political party. So the competition regarding decision-making process was handled by only by one party, and that one party is known as Communist Party of Soviet Union. In short, we call it as CPSU. We all know that after the Second World War, many of the Eastern European countries, they got liberated, and after they got liberated, they were put under the control of USSR. Since they were put under the control of USSR, their political and economic systems, those are modeled as per the model of USSR. So therefore, they were put under the Soviet Union, and their political and economic system was also made in lines of the USSR. So these countries, the Eastern European countries who had become the member of USSR later, the 15 countries together called as the Soviet system. Now let us talk about what are the characteristics of Soviet system. The first characteristics of Soviet system was one party dominance. So it is indeed very important to mention here that I have already mentioned in the previous slide that due to the Socialist Revolution in Russia in the year 1917, there was an importance given to a one-party dominance system in Soviet Russia. What is one-party dominance? One-party dominance basically means that there is no chance for other party to compete in election, and the entire policy making to be handled by one political party. And that responsibility was given to the Communist Party of Soviet Union. So that is the first important characteristics of Soviet system. The second characteristics was unified economic and political system. By unified economic and political system, it means that all the member countries of Soviet Union, that is the 15 member countries, they had to follow one similar or uniform kind of economic and political system. And the power of controlling the political activities and economic activities to be by the political party alone, the single political party alone or the state alone. So this is the second characteristics of Soviet system. The third characteristics was centralized system. Now what do we mean by centralized system? Broadly, political system can be divided into two parts. centralized and decentralized. Decentralized are basically considered to be those political systems where the power had been divided between the center and the state. So there has been an equal distribution of power between the center and the state. But in case of Soviet Union, it was noticed that the entire power of controlling the activities of the government and its allies lies in the hands of the state. So therefore, the economy and politics was mostly owned by the state. So the private parties or individuals were not given the rights or liberty to control their own activity. So the allies countries were not given the power. So it was mainly controlled by the Soviet Union itself. So that's why many people say that the Soviet Union was actually run from Moscow. Number 4, it was very much bureaucratic and authoritarian. Since Soviet Union, they had followed a centralized system. Therefore, they have given more importance to a bureaucratic and authoritarian regime. By bureaucratic, it basically means that with the help of the government bureaucrats, the appointed administrative officers, the government controls the behavior of the allied countries. So there were altogether 15 member countries of Soviet Union, and all these member countries were controlled by the government bureaucrats. Since they were controlled by the government bureaucrats, so it was more like an authoritarian kind of a regime. So that was also another very important characteristics of Soviet system. The next characteristics was lack of democracy and freedom of speech. So because it is socialist, because it is centrist, therefore there is no chance for democracy. There is no chance for freedom of speech. So people and the allied countries do not have the freedom of expressing their opinion regarding the anomalies or problems that occurs inside the Soviet Union. So that is also to be considered as another important characteristics of Soviet system. Now let us talk about the problems of the Soviet system. As you know that due to these problems, later Soviet Union got disintegrated. Okay, so let us talk about the problems in Soviet system. The first problem in Soviet system was non-recognition of diversity. Now, as I have already told you that Soviet Union was comprised of 15 independent republics. All these republics had their own history, had their own requirements, had their own culture. But Soviet Union do not respect the diversity of these member countries. So the non-recognition to the diversity, political diversity, cultural diversity of these member countries created a sense of dissatisfaction in the minds of the leaders of these countries as well as the public. So that also created a sense of dissatisfaction against the main government. So that is considered to be the first problem of the Soviet system. The second problem is too much bureaucratic and authoritarian. Because the Soviet Union was purely a centrist kind of a government, and they do not want to give decentralization of power to the member countries, and therefore they give more importance or they give more power to the bureaucrats. So since they give more power to the bureaucrats, at the end the government become too much bureaucratic. It become too much authoritarian. What is authoritarian? That the state use authority to control the behavior of the member states. So that's why many people criticize that one of the major problems the Soviet Union had or Soviet system had was that it was too much bureaucratic and it was too much authoritarian. The third problem that lied with Soviet system was no freedom of speech. No public, no the member states, nor the media, press had that freedom of speech. They cannot criticize the government. Although the incumbent government had faced lots of corruption charges, they had lots of economic issues, but the people do not have the right to make opinion against the government. So that shows that one of the major problems of Soviet system. The fourth one is no equal status to member countries. Now, although Soviet Union was comprised of 15 member countries, but not all the member countries had of equal status. Among them, Russia, being the more powerful among the member countries or the superior among the member countries, it got an extra position, So there was a dominance of Russia over the member countries of Soviet Union. So that's why it is also to be considered as one of the major problems, because although it was created as an union of states, but those states were also earlier the independent states, independent sovereign states. So they should also be given that power of recognition. So, but that equal status is not given. So that was also to be considered as a major problem of Soviet system. And the last one is fragile economy. So due to sustaining the arms race between with America, Soviet Union had to invest a lot of money during Cold War. So that cost economic burden had actually created a sense of fragile economy in Soviet Union. And so due to the fragile economy, many people in Soviet Union, they were only getting the basic amenities of life. They were not getting those amenities which could make their life better than they had. So therefore, only getting basic amenities from the Union was not satisfactory to the people. So therefore, they had demanded for a change. So these were the problems in Soviet system. Interestingly, to eradicate the problem that occurs in Soviet system, there was a person called Gorbachev. His complete name was Mikhail Gorbachev enters the scene. So it was in the year 1985 Mars. Mikhail Gorbachev assumed the leadership of USSR. After he took over the power of USSR, Gorbachev introduced two sets of policies. The first one was called as Glasnost and another one is called as Perestroika. Now, Glasnost and Perestroika were created by Gorbachev in order to reform the existing political and economic problems of Soviet Union that we have mentioned in the earlier slide. So, to eradicate the problems of Soviet Union, Gorbachev had comes up with these kind of policies. Now, let us talk about what is Glasnost. Now, Glasnost is a Russian term which in English it means political openness. Now, what is political openness? Now, prior to Gorbachev, there was an Stalinist repression in Russia. Stalin was president of Russia, so he had his own way of governing the Soviet Union. So during Stalinist repression, there were some certain problems like banning of books. So books were being banned, which criticized the government. There was a system of secret police that the government enrolled certain polices, to spy whether the people were agitating against the government, whether the people were disobeying the decisions of the government. So there was a secret kind of a policing system. So these kind of systems were there earlier. So what Gorbachev did, that by adopting Glasnost, he tried to eliminate the traces of this Stalinist repression. So he wanted to overthrow the Stalinist repressive model. By Glasnost, he also tried to give a lot new freedoms to the Soviet citizens. What kind of new freedoms he tried to give to the Soviet citizens? For example, he wanted to release the political prisoners. He wanted to give the newspapers, especially the print media, the right or liberty to criticize the government. For the first time, he also gave other political parties other than the Communist Party to participate or compete in the election. So these kind of openness, political openness were introduced by Gorbachev under a reform agenda called Glasnost. So therefore, Glasnost was considered to be one of the major agendas of Mikhail Gorbachev. The second one was Perestroika. Now what is Perestroika? Perestroika is a term which is in English mean economic reconstruction. Since Gorbachev came to know that the economic condition of Soviet Union was very fragile, it had many deadlocks. Therefore, he suggested certain measures to reform the existing economic condition of Soviet Union. And the measures that he had suggested together was known as Perestroika. Now, within this particular reform measure, Gorbachev suggested for reviving the Soviet economy. He thought that the government must loosen up its grip from the economy. So what does it mean? It means that earlier the entire economy was led by the state. It was a state-owned kind of economy. So Gorbachev suggested that the government must lose the grip over the economy. And he believed that private initiative should be encouraged, because private initiative, according to him, would lead to innovation. So therefore, he allowed the individuals and the cooperatives to own their own business for the first time since 1920. So since 1920, it was noticed that The private property was not been given to the individual. Business were not been run by the cooperatives. These are only run by the state. So therefore, for the first time, Govasev, with the medium of perestroika, given that economic freedom to the people, individual, and also to the cooperatives. Not only that, by the means of perestroika, Govasev also gave right to the workers who are working in the industries to go for a strike for better ways and conditions. So therefore, Govasev, by adopting perestroika, he had given a new look to the existing dead economy, moribund economy of Soviet Union. Not only these internal arrangements for reviving the economy, Govasev had also given importance for external change as well. Prior to Govasev, the economy of Soviet Union was completely closed door, especially during Cold War. So Govasev now, he had opened up for foreign investment in Soviet enterprises by this particular policy called perestroika. So therefore, perestroika and glasnost both were one of the major changes suggested by Mikhail Govasev in order to change the problems of Soviet system. But these particular reforms later were the reasons for the collapse of Soviet Union. How? Let me explain. Now, the people in the Eastern European countries, which were the part of the Soviet bloc, they do not have that right to protest against their own government. So, with the coming of glasnost, these Eastern European countries, they have started protesting against their own government as well as the Soviet control. And Govasev also did not do anything to restrain this protest created by the Eastern European countries, which led to the creation of new country from the USSR. So actually, directly or indirectly, it was Govasev who was responsible for giving the space for the Eastern European countries to protest against their own government and also against the Soviet control, and for the creating of a separate state for themselves. Not only that, there was also an internal conflict within the Communist Party regarding the policies adopted by Govasev. Many of the leaders of Communist Party of Soviet Union were not satisfied with the kind of reforms suggested by Govasev, because they had a fear that because of these reform policies, the communist regime would come to an end. And that was exactly what happened later. So therefore, the non-satisfactory, dissatisfied leaders of Communist Party, they had launched a military coup in the year 1991. Now, what is a military coup? So, military coup is simply a kind of a arrangement when the power of the state was captured or overthrown by the military heads. So, when military captured the power, so that is what we call as military coup. So, with the support of the dissatisfied leaders of Communist Party against the Govasev's reform policy, they had launched an military coup in the year 1991. And here it comes a major blow in Soviet Union, which led to the disintegration of Soviet Union, was the emergence of Boris Yeltsin. Boris Yeltsin. So Boris Yeltsin enters the scene. So he was completely against of this military coup, and with his opposition to the military coup, he got the national support. He became the national hero, and he competed for the election, and he became the next president of Soviet Union. So he became the president of Soviet Union. So once he became the president of Russia, Yeltsin had made certain anti-incumbency activities. So what does those anti-incumbency activities by Yeltsin? After swearing into power, Yeltsin declared that centralized control of Soviet Union to be dismantled. So after he became the president, he decided that the centralized control of Soviet Union must be go away. And he had given decentralized power to the member countries. So after he had given decentralized power to the member countries, under his leadership only, the major powers of Soviet Union, Russia, Ukraine and Belarus, these three countries, they had declared the disintegration of Soviet Union. So the declaration of disintegration of Soviet Union was actually made under the banner of Yeltsin. So in the year 1991. So in the year 1991, Soviet Union got dismantled, it got disintegrated, and these countries, they had adopted democracy. So this is how it led to the collapse of Soviet Union, especially responsibility to be given to the Gorbachev's reform policies. Now let us very quickly talk about the causes of disintegration of Soviet Union. By and large, there are many causes of disintegration of Soviet Union. The first cause was the internal weakness of Soviet political and economic institutions, who failed to meet the aspirations of the people. As I have already told you that the existing Soviet political and economic institutions, they had failed to fulfill the demands of the people. So because the demands of the people were not fulfilled, so people got dissatisfied. And due to the dissatisfaction of the people, they had launched a protest against their own government as well as the Soviet government. So that also led to the disintegration of Soviet Union. The second cause was economic stagnation. So that is already explained in the previous slide, that due to the economic stagnation which was created due to the arms race between United States of America and USSR, it created a serious economic stagnation in Soviet Russia. So people of Soviet Russia, they were completely dissatisfied with the economic conditions of Soviet Union, which led to kind of a protest in Soviet Union, and which actually created disintegration of Soviet Union. The third one is non-accountability of CPSU. So Communist Party of Soviet Union, in short it is known as CPSU, they were not accountable to the people. So they were not concerned about the problems of the people. What they are concerned about, the elites of their political party. So there was a bureaucratic character, there was an elite character within the CPSU. So although it was an political organization, political party which was created for developing equality among people, but in practice, CPSU did not give importance to the people, they were given importance only to the political leaders. So the non-accountability of CPSU also contributed to the disintegration of Soviet Union. The fourth one is centralization of authority. It was already explained that the entire power of Soviet Union was centralized. There was no decentralization. The member countries' government did not get the power. So it was mainly controlled by the state at the center. So due to this centralization of authority, the member countries were quite dissatisfied with Soviet Union, mostly of Soviet Russia. So that also became one of the reasons of disintegration of Soviet Union. The fifth one is Gorbachev's reform policy. So that was already explained that due to the Gorbachev's policy of glasnost and perestroika, Soviet Union got disintegrated. The sixth point is the growth of nationalism and sense of separatism. So it was noticed that after the Gorbachev, and mostly from 1985, it was noticed that slowly the Eastern European country, they had started developing a sense of nationalism. So these 15 countries, they had started talking about their own liberty, they are talking about their own independence. So this sense of separatism was also contributed for the disintegration of Soviet Union. The next one is slow pace of implementation of reform policies of Gorbachev. So although Gorbachev had comes up with perestroika and glasnost to reform the existing socio-economic political conditions of Soviet Union, but to implement those policies or reforms, Gorbachev and the government of Soviet Union took lots of time. So there was a slow pace of development. So because of the slow pace of implementation, these countries got dissatisfied with the existing government and they have protested against them and they demanded for a new government. So this is also another important reason behind the disintegration of Soviet Union. And the last one is anti-incumbency by Yeltsin. So it is already discussed that after Yeltsin became the president of Soviet Russia, so what he did, he adopted many activities which were against the existing government and against the existing state, which contributed for the disintegration of Soviet Union. So these are the reasons of or causes of disintegration of Soviet Union. Now we would talk about the consequences of collapse of Soviet Union. So after the collapse of Soviet Union, what happened? What are the consequences, the results that we need to discuss? The first result is the fall of Second World. So after the Second World War, under the banner of Soviet Union, the USSR was created, a Second World War was created. But after the Soviet Union got disintegrated in the year 1991, the Second World got collapsed. So there was no Second World after that. Then end of many communist regimes. So as I already mentioned, the 15 member countries of Eastern European countries who had the communist regimes, after the collapse of Soviet Union, they had abandoned the communist regimes and adopted democracy. The third consequences was it meant the end of Cold War confrontations. So the Cold War was mostly an ideological conflict, as we have already discussed in the previous modules, between capitalism versus communism or socialism. When the Soviet Union was disintegrated and the member countries had adopted democracy, So there was no conflict between capitalism and communism. So therefore, it also called to an end to the Cold War confrontations. The fourth consequences was emergence of new nations. So as I have already mentioned that USSR was created with 15 member states, 15 sovereign states. So these sovereign states, they got sovereignty after the sovereign USSR got disintegrated. So 15 sovereign states were carved out of USSR. Not only that, it was also said that the Baltic nations, who are the Baltic nations? The Estonia, Latvia and Lithuania, they have even also shown interest to join NATO. So this was also to be considered as major consequences of the collapse of Soviet Union. And the last consequences was the power relations in world politics got changed. So we all know that during the Cold War, the power dynamics was mostly a bipolar kind of a power dynamics. So there was a conflict between USSR and USA, where there was a fight between capitalism versus communism. So that politics was ended. So due to the collapse of Soviet Union, from bipolar, there was a chance for growth of a unipolar initially, where the United States of America captured the entire political power of the international blocs, and slowly there was also the growth of multipolarism. So therefore, the power relations in world politics also got changed due to the collapse of Soviet Union. So this is all about the first today's module on Soviet Union and its disintegration. We have talked about what do we mean by the second world, what are the characteristics of Soviet system, what are the weaknesses of Soviet system, how Soviet system got disintegrated, and what are the consequences of disintegration of Soviet Union. So if you have any questions, any queries, please feel free to write to me at susengfa@nlc.sc.in. This is my email ID. And if you like the video, then please like it, comment and share among your friends, among your students, and do subscribe to the channel if you have not. So for any new fresh contents, keep watching ePolitica, everything that you want to know on political science. Thank you for watching.